Good evening and welcome to Face to Face for the Newsfirst team. I'm Niresh Thambi. My guest this evening is Dr. Asanka Wijesinghe, a research fellow at the Institute of Policy Studies, IPS, who is joining us on the show after several months. Good evening and welcome, Dr. Asanka.
Thanks, Niresh.
Right. So, Dr. Asanka, each time you appear on this show, it is with a fresh new topic because you are, of course, a researcher. And last time you appeared, you spoke of one challenge, and this time you are going to tell us about another challenge, which is the European Union Deforestation Regulation, EUDR. Why are we interested in EU regulations? Because of our exports to the European Union, all 27 nations within the European Union, and whatever regulations the EU comes up with will affect our exports. So, Dr. Asanka, tell us, what is EUDR?
Yeah. First, thanks, Niresh, for having me here. You are correct that the trade landscape is becoming very kind of hostile. Different things come. For example, about 6 months ago, the world was rattled by this reciprocal tariff. Still, the negotiations are ongoing. So these are kind of tariff barriers, but there are something called non-tariff barriers to trade. So EUDR is something like that. It is targeting the environment protection by EU, but it has a direct implication on trade. Mainly, EU needs to stop deforestation that is resulted from their consumption. They consume coffee, they consume cocoa products, they consume rubber products, but the growing of these commodities generally involve deforestation. So they want to avoid that. In this end, they have passed this European Union deforestation regulation. According to that, the operators or the importers of these products in the EU need to meet some regulatory requirement. One is this due diligence requirement. Under that, they need to certify that the products they sell in the EU market were not produced in land plots which were forest lands after 30th December of 2020, like 5 years ago. So this is the regulation to show that the land plots were not forests before that period. Then we need to show geolocation data. So this is simply the EUDR regulation.
Right. So this is a very tough regulation because they will be looking back 5 years to see whether these crops or products that were whether they originated from land which was forest somewhere between December 2020 and the present time. Yeah. So if somebody knocked down a forest and grew anything, that would be a problem because the EU would not be happy about it, basically.
Yes. Certain things can happen. Assume an operator importer somehow import this kind of non-complied products to the EU, then penalties are involved. Even the confiscation of these commodities can happen. So operators, to avoid that, they will definitely ask for geolocation data that needs to prove that these were not forest lands. So this is the challenge now manufacturers, producers facing. Luckily, Sri Lanka is not exporting the other products like coffee cocoa. We export a limited amount, but rubber is highly exposed. If you look at the numbers, Sri Lanka export about 320 million worth rubber. Out of the EUDR exposed product, 97.5% of products are rubber. For example, gloves, natural rubber based products like tires. Sri Lanka export to the EU, and EU is a very important market. Neeraj, it's about 35% of Sri Lanka's rubber exports go to EU.
Right. So when you say rubber, it's not just the bulk rubber, it's all the rubber tires, the gloves, or basically anything made out of rubber.
Yes.
And there's a lot of items which are now made out of rubber. For example, I think with the US, it was gym equipment, which has rubber components and therefore came under a very high tariff, and we were very afraid of that with the US. But now with the EU, this is just as strong, isn't it? We cannot export any rubber or rubber products which came from deforested lands.
Yes. If you look at the products, actually there are like 27 HS code products Sri Lanka export from rubber products. For example, solid door cushion tires, gloves, medical gloves, articles of vulcanized rubber, and also gaskets, the small things, washers and those things, plates, sheets, strips of cellular rubber like that. So there is this long list.
27 rubber products.
Yeah, 27 rubber products Sri Lanka export at HS 6 digits. However, there are good things also, because naturally Sri Lanka's rubber plantations have not planted in deforested lands within this period, because we started to grow rubber long period ago. So if we can show the geolocation data, if we can digitally communicate this data to the operators, then we will be good. We don't need to worry about that.
Right. So we can expect all European importers to be contacting our exporters and asking for the particular certification, isn't it?
Yes.
The geolocation.
It looks like this. For example, assume I am exporting, I am a manufacturer. Now I collect rubber from various smallholder rubber producers. I get their rubber sheets and produce tires or something. Then now I am putting that in the EU market. There is an operator in the EU importing products from me. Now when I export, I need to give them, okay, there are 1,000 tires here, and I got rubber from 2,000 farmers, producers. Each and everyone's geolocation data is here. So it is complex process. Then the operator can confidently sign this due diligence certificate and provide it to the competent authority in the EU. So this is a complex one, but with the digitalization, using digital platforms, this will be easy. For example, rubber development department and Sri Lanka's survey department, they are working on producing a system, and cabinet approval was also there about 3 months ago. This system is called Rubber Information Management System. In that, each farmer is given a registration number, and their plot, land plot geolocation data is tied to that identification number. So assume now I am the importer in EU, I have the identification number, I can log into the system and get geolocation data, but this system is not functioning yet. But if we will be able to build this system, most of the problem can be solved.
Now, when is the deadline for this? When is EUDR going to come into effect?
Well, actually, they they enforced this about 2 years ago. Then small businesses and the developing countries, they lobbied for extension. They extended it until 30th December 2025.
This year.
Yeah, it is like in 2 months. But very recently, there was a proposal for another 6 months extension. We are not very sure about that, but assume there will be 6 months extension. But after 6 months, this will be enforced. So we will not be able to avoid this.
So, Dr. Asanka, what do we need to do? What more? And who needs to do it? Is it the government or government agencies? Is it the manufacturers of rubber products? Is it the growers of rubber?
Yeah. So Sri Lanka's rubber value chain is something like that. There are large manufacturers, and there are regional plantation companies operating large plantations, and there are smallholders. But smallholders are the backbone of the rubber growing industry. It is said that about 70% of production and the land extent management comes by these smallholders. Then manufacturers, especially with big manufacturing firms and these regional plantation companies, they can easily show this geolocation data. There is this recent EU study. According to them, they say that if stakeholders had the opinion, 90% of these big manufacturing firms are ready for EUDR. The problem lies with the smallholders. So they don't have the technical knowledge and the capacity to show this thing. Then it is the government's responsibility to help the industry to show this geolocation data. Now, government is doing few things. One thing is with the survey department demarcating these plot areas for geolocation data. As I said, the rubber development department is working on producing a management system. So one can argue that the government has no direct role. It's a problem of the private sector. But these things are like public goods. Private sector is not going to invest on the smallholders rubber management system. So then it becomes the burden of the government and government agencies like rubber development department.
So this geomapping, geolocation, how complex is it? How long does it take, and what's the cost? I mean, can a smallholder bear such a cost?
Well, there are apps developed for that. Some countries like Peru, for example, they use offline apps using mobile phones. It is widely available technology. If smallholders do not have that technical capacity, the government has development officers at the grassroots level, and rubber development department also has agents in regional level. They can collaborate with the survey department to get this done. This is how things are happening now, but assume smallholder voluntarily they need to do this. Still apps are available. I am not exactly sure about the technical knowledge dissemination wise. There are best practices we can learn from. For example, countries like Peru, as I said, they have developed offline apps. Then a farmer can get the geolocation data coordinates, then upload that to a centralized system connecting the phone to broadband internet. So there are those kind of things. Sri Lanka can learn from them.
Right. And are there any particular countries which are not prepared and would be hit hard by this?
Well, most of the developing countries exporting mainly rubber, coffee, cocoa, they are mainly affected. African countries and the South American countries producing commodities like coffee. But countries are getting ready for this. For some time after this story came out, they started, and also multinational organizations also contribute through technical dissemination. Countries like Thailand, now they have a very sophisticated methodology, because they need to show every rubber consignment that okay, these are in compliance with EUDR. I think we don't know the exact effect country-wise, but commodity producers are equally exposed. Some countries might be in a better position due to the development of digital platforms, digital databases. For example, Thailand and Peru, they are in a good position.
Right, and now some countries are in a good position, others are not. So where does Sri Lanka stand when you look?
Well, Sri Lanka's, as I said, large manufacturers and the regional plantation companies, they are in a good position. They have already prepared to show the geolocation data and other legality requirement. Then we also estimated some macroeconomic effect. Our expectation is that real impact might not be that large, because large producers have achieved the compliance. The issue is with the smallholders, and I think smallholders' problem is common issue everywhere in the world, because smallholders generally, they don't have technical knowledge, they don't have capital investments to show this kind of very detailed information.
Right, we're going to head into a short commercial break right now. Don't go away, we'll be right back.
දැන් කෑවනේ බේත් ටිකක් බිව්ව නම් හරි නේද?
ඔයා තමයි මගේ බේත.
මේ මල්ලගේ ඩබල් ගේම් නේ හරි. අනික මේ ඔයාට බොරු කර කර සදිව්ගේ වැඩ කරන්න මට මෙතනට එන්න ඕමනාවක් නැහැ. උඹලා දෙන්න එක තැනකට කියලා තමයි මේ උදව් කරේ.
හිතුවේ නෑ නේ අපි ආයේ හම්බෙයි කියලා.
මම ගිහිල්ලා කොයි වෙලේ හරි කරද්දී හොස්පිටල් ගාලේ. ඒ මොකෝ?
ඒ වෙලාවට කියනු ගීත අතීතයට යනවා. අන්න ඉතින් කමසට chance එකක් තියෙනවා.
ඇයි වාසුලා මට මේක නොකියුවේ?
අද රාත්‍රී 9ට සිරස ටෙලිතිරයෙන්.
රිෂි, ඔයා මේ විදිහට මෝඩයෙක් වගේ හැසිරෙන ගත්තොත් මං ආයිත් කවදාවත් ඔයා ළඟට එන්නේ නැහැ.
මං තාමත් අනිකටයි තමයි.
මතම කිව්වා.
මම නම් කියන්නේ විශ්මයටම අපි උසම. දවසක් දෙයක් රණ්ඩු කරයි.
සුද්දා බහිතෝ දෙකෝ ආදරේම බලහත්කාරකමින් උස්සන් එන්න පුළුවන් කියලා.
සංසාරා අද රාත්‍රී 9:30ට සිරස ටෙලිතිරයෙන්.
මම ඊරෑ හේනෙන් ජම්මව දැක්ක මාමේ. කජුවත් එක්ක අනත්තර ගිහින් හලුතෙන් කපාපු වලක් වෙන්න.
සංකල්පයේ පොලිසියෙන් ඇරෙස්ට් කළා. ඒ පොලිසියෙන් ගෙදරටම ගිහින් සංකල්ප වල්ලන් ඇවිල්ලා සාක්ෂි.
අද රාත්‍රී 8:30ට
සිරස ටෙලිතිරයෙන්.
Welcome back to Face to Face. I am with Dr. Asanka Wijesinghe, Research Fellow at the Institute of Policy Studies, IPS, who of course brings us news of fresh challenges from around the world, and also the solutions, because after all he is quite a senior researcher and he's always busy researching various economic challenges. Now, we are speaking about EUDR, the European Union Deforestation Regulation, which is coming into effect at the end of December of this year. Now, we were speaking, Dr. Asanka, about the impact on rubber exports. What's the economic impact? Now, Sri Lanka, of course, cannot afford to have anything shaking or weakening our economy. We're just getting back on our feet. And yes, the economic indicators are strong, that's lovely, but we're not out of the woods yet at all. So where does rubber stand when it comes to our economy?
Yes, actually, it's a very important question, Nivesh, because the external environment is hostile with the US tariff situation. So
it changes every day. It's very difficult to track.
These days,
these tariffs bounce around. One day it's 40%, another day it's 20, it's 15. It's just
and these days he's signing a series of agreements with the East Asian countries.
Fortunately, yes. You know, China, Japan, Korea, Malaysia, and all that. So that's lovely. Hopefully, he'll reduce our tariff as well. Maybe we should invite him to visit. That would be quite interesting. But what about rubber when it comes to our economy?
Yeah, rubber exports is about $1 billion. $1
billion US dollars.
Yeah, about 35% of that goes to EU.
Right.
And another 35 goes to US. So this is very concentrated market.
Right. So it's about number 4 among our exports, somewhere there.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So percentage-wise, this can be about 10%, maybe less than 10%, like 8%, because generally our merchandise exports is about 13 billion. So out of that, 1 billion come from rubber. So this is a significant industry, and if you look at the value addition wise, this is more important because the raw materials are coming from Sri Lanka. If you look at ready-made garment industry, we import raw materials from outside. If it is a 5 billion industry, maybe about 2 billion imports from other countries as raw materials. But this is not the case. Majority of the value addition happens within the country. Right. So it is very important. The industry is directly linked to the farmers, producers. Then we did economic impact assessment under 2 assumptions. Economists, you know, we make various assumptions to run the models. One thing was we assumed, okay, now Sri Lanka will achieve compliance. That means we produce this geolocation data, databases required, but it will increase cost. We assume that such a compliance will increase cost by 5%. Then we assumed if we pass that cost increase to the EU consumers, then demand will go down. The economic effect is like 24.4 million less imports from exports from 2024. But this is a tiny amount of loss if you compare the cost of non-compliance. Non-compliance means we are going to lose about 330 million market. It affects the GDP of the country. We estimate that it can be about 0.07%. But we did a similar study for US tariff. You know that US tariff impact can be less than this. But one sector cutting off from EU can have a similar impact or more impact. It is because of the linkages to the domestic producers. Majority of the value addition happens within the country. So we estimate what will be the impact on the labor force we found that labor demand from the sector can go down by about 15.6%. That means about 5,300 fewer employments. That means 5,300 workers can be affected.
So that's both interesting and alarming that this EUDR could have a bigger adverse impact than the Trump tariffs.
Yes.
And of course, the Trump tariffs, everybody knew about it because it was announced in a very flamboyant style and it was worldwide and so on. But the EUDR regulation is flying under the radar. Not many people talk about it, but it's vital that we become compliant.
Yes. Other countries, they were very active, and multilateral organizations like International Trade Center, they were also disseminating technology and the knowledge about this. Fortunately, Sri Lanka has started many things. Let's hope that we will be able to produce these digital platforms soon.
Now, let's hope that, because in the past we have had issues with EU regulations. I remember when the EU had introduced a regulation on the fisheries industry, the bottom trawling nets. We were completely unprepared because we had ignored their warnings, and all of a sudden one fine day they said no more fish from Sri Lanka, and then everyone was running helter-skelter to sort it out. Fortunately, the EU, I think, was quite generous with us, but here, we need to get our act together.
Yep.
Right. Now, is all the rubber that we use for our rubber products, is it all produced here, or do we have imports, as in the apparel industry, which imports much of its raw materials?
Yes, we import some rubber because the domestic natural rubber sheet production is not enough for our manufacturing.
Okay.
I think as a percentage of our exports output, about 10% of rubber we import.
Right.
For example,
that's a lot, 10%.
Yes. For example, natural rubber latex, we have imported in 2024 about 42 million worth products. Another HS code is smoked sheets, 22 million. Technically specified natural rubber, this is called TSNR, another 56 million. Like that, about 130 million worth rubber we have imported from other countries. Mainly we import from Thailand, Vietnam, Malaysia, some other countries like Bangladesh, Myanmar.
So that's quite a number of countries.
Yes. The good story is these countries like Thailand, they have a good system in place to show the geolocation data. So our manufacturers will not face big trouble. My guess is, especially countries like Thailand, Malaysia, they will be in a technologically better place to show due diligence, so we can benefit from that.
Right, but you mentioned Bangladesh and Myanmar as well. Those are not so advanced.
That can be a problem, yes. So our manufacturers will be really vigilant about that. Yeah.
Right, interesting indeed, and hopefully we will get through this. We have only 2 months, and perhaps we'll have another 6 months, but we don't know.
Yeah, we don't know.
Right. Okay, so now that you're here, I need to ask you about the Trump tariffs, which you were an expert. You are an expert on it, although I didn't see any papers by you recently on this, but I know you have studied this. It's quite difficult to study it, isn't it, as an academic?
Yes. One thing is, as economists, we use this called general equilibrium model. I'm not going to give you technical details, but the idea is this. As I mentioned in rubber, when exports go down, labor force is also affected. So we model everything. Then we need to calculate this country-wise tariff changes. President Trump was changing that like every 2 weeks. So it was not an easy task to keep a tab on every change. Somehow we built the database until like last August. After that, some changes happened, but not drastic changes. So I think our model estimates might not be drastically affected by the very recent changes. But I need to update that. For example, Cambodia, Thailand, countries like that, they got 0 tariff for certain products. Assume now they have 0, but Sri Lanka is paying 20% more. Then it can affect us.
Right. So Thailand and Cambodia seem to have been quite successful in dealing with Mr. Trump, or perhaps it was Mr. Trump who was successful in dealing with Thailand and Cambodia, because they had a short border war and he did step in and resolve it, or help to resolve it. So just a few days ago he was in Malaysia, in Kuala Lumpur, and the peace agreement was signed in his presence between Thailand and Cambodia. And of course all those countries are very happy with him, and so he's reciprocated and reduced their tariffs. So maybe there's a lesson in that for Sri Lanka, not to start any wars with anybody, but that there is a certain method of negotiation with Mr. Trump that seems to work for some countries, which is good. I mean, the art of negotiation is all about learning about your opponent or the person you're going to be negotiating against.
Yes. He's actually a businessman, so he approaches this question like getting a good deal. That is the goal, getting a good deal for the US. So recently, I think today they signed one with South Korea. In that, South Korea has pledged large-scale investment into the US, shipbuilding and other electronic manufacturing. Unfortunately, we cannot do those kind of things. We are expecting the other way around. We expect investments to the country. But there can be some tariff concessions using our strategic assets to join the value chains, because they are worried about the critical minerals and those things. We have some, so we can leverage those things in the negotiations.
So it's interesting because with Mr. Trump, the negotiations never end, do they? We've seen, especially with Canada over the last few days, initially he was very hostile towards Canada, and then there seemed to be a rapprochement with the Canadian, the new Canadian Prime Minister, and things seem to be getting sorted. And then one Canadian province, I think it was Ontario, ran a television commercial which was critical of tariffs in general, using a speech by late President Ronald Reagan. And Mr. Trump was furious and immediately stopped all negotiations with Canada. So it's quite a roller coaster ride. And if you're an economist like you must be tearing your hair out when these things happen.
This is the peril of when the world steps away from system like World Trade Organization stipulated framework. This is what we are witnessing now. US unilaterally deciding about the tariff. Earlier, even now, actually, we are still under WTO. Countries could bring these issues to the dispute settlement body, and WTO then try to solve it.
But that takes a very long time, doesn't it?
It takes a long time, and it's a very ineffective system now, because the dispute settlement body is kind of paralyzed due to some legal issues.
Right, and he does keep changing the goalposts whenever he feels like it. So he doesn't like to lose. So that's all about Mr. Trump. But now, looking at the 20% tariffs, has the effect on us been as bad as we thought, or are we handling it generally?
Yeah, that's a great question, because at the beginning everyone panicked, and we also estimated the models, but as I said,
at that time it was some 40% or something like that.
Yeah, earlier it was 44%.
44%,
then
yes.
somehow we brought it down to 20%, and interim there was like 30%. So we estimated different modules. Of course, getting 20% is a better deal than having 30%. So in these models, we assume one important thing. For example, when there is a 20% increase, we assume that that 20% will be passed to the US consumers. For example, before tariff, assume a t-shirt was $10. With 20%, we assume now it will be 12%. Then the impact is proportionate to that price increase. But we see that this price pass through is not 100%. Certain things happening. Maybe manufacturers and retailers are splitting the cost without passing it to the consumers. And retailers took long time to pass the cost to the consumers because everything was uncertain. One thing was President Trump was changing tariff every day, and negotiations were also going on, so they did not pass the cost. Other thing was the legal case in the US court. There is this court case going on with President Trump had the executive authority to use this IEPA regulation and increase tax. Some people are believing that this will the court case will be concluded in way like court decides no, it is illegal. In that case, this tariff will go away. So as a result of that, the complete cost pass through did not happen. Anyway, the full tariff effect was in force last August, and some front loading happened. That means firms expected, okay, the tariff will go up, so they imported before tariff deadline came. So this is why we are not seeing a big impact yet, but cost absorption is not sustainable. At one point they will have to pass it to the consumers. Then maybe by the first half of next year, we will see the full impact of tariff, if tariff will continue.
But this is not at all just Sri Lanka. I mean, the whole world is going to be hit by this. It differs from country to country. Of course, I think Switzerland is still some 40% or somewhere there. And then you have countries like Sri Lanka at 20%, and then there are countries at 10 and even less. But overall, wouldn't this mean an economic slowdown globally?
Well, yes, because it is true that tariff burden is more or less distributed across all the countries. But think it like this. Now, before tariff war, assume a t-shirt was $10. Assume a consumer was buying 5 t-shirts, $50. But after the tariff war, now one t-shirt is $12. For $50, they can buy just like 4 t-shirts because of the price increase. Then demand has gone down now. Not only that, the inflation, the US economy can be affected. You can see that US is cutting interest rates to stimulate the economy.
That's right.
Yeah. So that is the problem. All of these growth forecasts, they have downgraded at least by a few decimal points. Luckily, the full-blown trade war was avoided. For example, EU did not retaliate. Canada's retaliation was very limited. As a result of that, global trade war did not happen. If it happened, the impact could be worse than this.
Right, but certain countries are still struggling with it. I think Brazil is still at 50%, although
Yes.
there is some news that, the president of Brazil had discussions with President Trump, and so they're expecting further negotiations. Hopefully something will come of that, because Brazil is it's, I think, the largest economy in South America.
Yep, and India. India is also struggling with their 50%.
Right.
They have experienced drastic reduction of exports.
So that's a very serious matter for us, because our economy is tied to some way.
Because Indian tourists come to Sri Lanka like that. That kind of spillover effect can happen. But fortunately for India, some products like pharmaceuticals, they are not under tariff. They are exempted. So the impact is bit manageable for them.
Right. And what about Russia? Because now recently there were increased restrictions on two major Russian oil companies. So what's that going to do to the Russian economy?
Yeah, Russia was not subject to this reciprocal tariff. A lot of people ask questions why Russia was exempted. But the issue was Russia had a different set of sanctions imposed by various US presidents. However, Russian economy is a bit resilient, I think, because of the long-term isolation, and also they have a strategic advantage of this producing gas and oil. Although countries talk against Russia, they deal with Russia because of the strategic importance of oil. I think Russia is a major supplier of oil and gas to the EU. So I think US sanctions, there can be an effect, but these incremental changes happening now will not affect Russia much.
Right. So I guess things are not as bad as they were back in April or so, when everything was topsy-turvy. So we can look forward to some more good news, perhaps, globally.
Yes. As I said, the tariff pass-through was not 100%, and full tariff imposition of Trump administration also came like last August. So I think we should not relax because of these things. Sri Lanka should negotiate, try to get a good deal with the US, because you can see all the other countries are moving ahead. I think, although there are these politically theatrical exchanges of the statements between India and the US, they will also get a deal, come to a deal at one point.
Right, that's good to hear. And we need to keep our eyes open on Mr. Trump, because he does change the goalposts quite frequently. You never know when you wake up in the morning what he has done over there in the US, because it's overnight for us, and especially for us journalists, it starts the day with some interesting news all too often. Right, and I'm afraid we are out of time. My thanks to Dr. Asanka Wijesinghe, a research fellow at the Institute of Policy Studies, IPS. Delightful to have you on the program again, and I'm sure in a few months' time you will be back telling us about some new global or local challenges and how to mitigate those. So thank you very much for being with us this evening,
Thank you,
Dr. Asanka. And thank you to you at home for watching. Don't go away because the news is coming up next. Have a great weekend.